This program is brought to you by Pussy Magnets.
Put a midge on your fridge with a pussy magnet.
Welcome, welcome, my lovely lumps. Or maybe let's go with lovely labs. That's pretty on brand. Anyway, I'm so thrilled to have you here in the Labia Lounge. We're going to be yarning about all things sexuality, intimacy, womanhood, relating, holistic health, and everything in between. We're going to have vag loads of real chats with real people about real shit. So buckle up because you're about to receive the sex ed that you never had and hopefully have a bit of a chuckle while you're at it. Before we get stuck in, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording this, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. It's a massive privilege to be living and creating dope podcast content in Naarm, and I just want to pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Now, if you're ready, let's flap and do this.
Don't panic, you're not broken. Your sex education was a piece of shit. Get your flaps out and pull up the couch. It's the Labia Lounge.
Hey gang, just before we jump into this episode, I wanted to offer you an opportunity to access my new mini course for free before I start charging for it in future. It's for people with vulvas and it's quick to complete. It's all about demystifying the female body and pleasure anatomy and getting some basic fundamentals to understand your body better. It's called Pussy Pleasure Secrets, Your Roadmap to Bedroom Bliss. You can grab it on the freebies page of my website or in the show notes. It's a great little free resource to kind of dip your toe in or act as a bit of a taster for my work. So if you've ever been curious about this sort of thing and you just don't know where to start, or you want a really quick, easy, accessible, non-threatening way to get the ball rolling and start working on this stuff, this is a great place to start. Hello, my labial legends. Welcome back to the lounge. Grab a clit cushion, get cozy, because we're going to be having some really interesting and juicy chats today. I've got Genevieve, who's the founder of Skirt Club, which is a private members club for bicurious and bisexual women. With more than 26,000 members globally now, women are more interested in each other than ever. Genevieve was the first to curate luxurious global events where women can put their own desires first and gain confidence from the bedroom to the boardroom. Today, she's building the world's first community app for curious and bi women. And she's a leading figure in the movement for women's sexual empowerment and also has been interviewed on some pretty high-profile publications. So things like Marie Claire, I don't actually know how to say that. Gosh, that's terrible. Elle Magazine, Cosmo, Bloomberg, Rolling Stone, and the Sunday Times. So she's kind of a big deal, guys. Super excited to chat with you, Jen. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Freya. It's lovely to be on your show.
So I attended a Skirt Club event last night, which worked perfectly because we had this interview today. I was super excited to, just see a little invitation in my inbox. And I think because of the work that I do, somebody on your team must have thought that I was a suitable guest. And I just jumped at it. I was like, oh my gosh, as if I would say no to that. I'm definitely going to go along and suss what it's all about. And actually, you're the perfect person to ask, but when I read a little bit about it and I got the invite...
I'm really sorry, my alarm just went off.
No, that's all good. All good. It made me think of a section in a book by Wednesday Martin. The book was Untrue, and she was talking about these events for women. Is that Skirt Club? Is that you?
Yeah, we are chapter 6. It's called Bonobos in Paradise.
Yes, I
because
thought
apparently
so.
She's an anthropologist, right? So apparently watching bonobos in paradise, which is bonobos fucking each other, all genders, all kinds, all at once, was exactly the same scene that she witnessed at Skirt Club. So,
wow. Well, I read that book probably, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, maybe. And I couldn't remember the name of, the events or the organization. But when I was reading up on the website and sort of preparing myself to know what I was walking into last night, I was like, I bet it's the same thing. I think that that's what I read about many years ago. So it was really cool just getting to, witness and experience the culture that you've created and the beautiful community. There was heaps of newbies last night like me, but the sort of general energy or the vibe was very warm, very welcoming, very encouraging. You know, lots of people were sort of talking about how they were nervous and they had come alone, and I just thought, fuck, how courageous. Isn't this so cool? And there's something about women only events where there's no male gaze and there's just this kind of empathetic, nurturing warmth that women tend to generate that makes it so much more approachable. Because I went alone as well, obviously, and I've never been to anything like that. So, I just want to commend you because obviously when you get women in a room, it's great, but you've definitely created and curated and cultivated the type of culture surrounding these events really intentionally. And I could really feel that.
I have. Well, it's my pleasure to do so, because my pleasure is your pleasure. So,
so talk to me about how good. How did it all come about? Obviously it starts with an idea, or potentially with these sort of things, it starts with seeking out something that doesn't exist or is being done already, but not very well. Before Skirt Club existed, where were Bicurious and bisexual women going for connection, and what wasn't working in those spaces? And did that feed into why you started this, or did you have a completely different on-ramp?
Quite simply, I went to a play party with an ex-boyfriend with the intention of meeting women like me, because how else do you meet them? I really don't know where to go. There's no, bar or community. There's a gay bar and a straight bar, but there's no bi bar, right? So, back in 2013, London, when I was living at the time, I just hadn't got a clue where to meet women. Also, they didn't want to own the label bisexual. There was so much stigma attached to it. So it was this very awkward time. I went to this play party, and I made a couple of friends. So that was great. But what I witnessed was women really just there for his pleasure, there to perform a little for his pleasure. And I thought, how sad, because she should be happy to be here. She should be excited. She should be choosing who they go chat up next, not him. And I would see a lot of him pointing across the room, and she'd go fetch this girl and bring him back and pick camp, in front of him. And I was like, you're not even into it, don't do it if you're not into it. There are many ways to make this more fabulous for you. And for that, men cannot be invited, because we don't listen to our bodies when there's someone else in the room. We completely ignore our own true desires because we're too easily persuaded or influenced, or just really nice gender altogether, that we just want to please other people. And as much as that is fair-natured and beautiful of us, it does not serve us at all.
Yeah. When there's a man in the room and we've all received patriarchal conditioning about gender roles, we're pretty fucked. That's definitely the raw end of the deal.
Yeah, it's autopilot. I just watch women go straight into it, and they get competitive. At Skirt Club, no men are allowed, so women are really nice and complimenting, cooing, like stroking to this hair. Oh my God, where did you get that dress from? They are your best friends at first sight. Put one male in the room, and you've got a completely different atmosphere.
Wow, it's so true. I really loathe this sort of conditioned competitiveness that pits women against one another. And it really does rely on a man being in the dynamic for that to happen, right? Like, you don't see it all that much otherwise. So you just sort of thought, fuck, there's nowhere for people like me to meet, to connect, where the women are actually there because they want to be there, not because they want to, please a male partner or do some sort of performative, sexy thing that feeds into his fantasy. You wanted a more authentic kind of, femme-friendly space. What was your first party like?
Well, I love to plan parties, so I was already somebody that loved to host. And I wanted to go super femme on this, so I was really into burlesque at the time, so I had a burlesque performer come by. I had brought these fantastic champagne flutes that were super tall, and I had champagne in the house. I had a cocktail waitress come and shake cocktails for us, and I had to have a theme, of course. Everybody had to be dressed up, and it was a great party. But tame. Hey, I think today we're far more raucous than we were back then. It was like my first party was 15 women. It was in my own flat in Shoreditch, London, and I think we played spin the bottle for about 10 minutes. That's about as sexy as it got. It wasn't. We were just dancing all night, having fun. Sometimes just in our lingerie.
Yeah. I mean, even that, just being in a sexually positive, femme empowered space is so healing. Being in a group of women, so healing. Expressing yourself freely, dancing, chatting, exploring sexual expression can just be literally about what you're wearing or how you're dancing, or if it's flirtatious, that's, still beautiful. So yeah, that's interesting that it was quite demure compared to now the sort of full-fledged play parties that you're running. And I'm curious because I went to the sort of cocktails part of the evening where most people are mingling and they're sort of getting to know each other and making eyes and building a bit of rapport and a bit of safety. And then it moves to a hotel suite. And I sort of popped in for a little brief moment to check out the hotel suite. I was so knackered by that point. I was starving. I was super hungry. I just realized I'd parked in a 2-hour car park and I'd actually been there for 3 hours. And I was like, because I'd only planned to go from, 7 till 9 and head home. And at 10 p.m. I was like, far out. What am I doing? Like, I'm so curious and I just want to I want to see how this all sort of unfolds, but I didn't have it in me. And once we got back to the hotel room, I just realized I'd totally maxed out. But I think you had just all arrived and were starting to play like a bit of a adapted version of Spin the Bottle to kind of ease people into it and get things started. What rolls out from there generally at these parties? Like, what did I miss when I left?
Well, Spin the Bottle is a great icebreaker, even though it's a college favorite. It absolutely does the job. And, you have to imagine a lot of women have never kissed a girl before, right? So you notice that there are a lot of first timers. Doesn't always mean that they're complete virgins at this, but I do find that is the kind of woman that gets attracted to joining a skirt club party because we're very good at holding your hand through a first experience. And so, yeah, my job is to make sure that happens. So, I spin the bottle. I go first. I get to make out with the first girl, and then she takes over from me and spins it herself, right? And so, very quickly, I saw that break out into 2 or 3 little separate pairings. Some of them went straight off to the bedrooms together. And bearing in mind, they just met that evening, right? But they'd obviously talked enough at the bar. They'd found some connection there. So some were very quick to move on. Others stayed playing the game in the living room area. And yeah, by the end of the night, I'd say most people had a play with each other or with somebody in the 2 bedrooms that we had for this suite. Which is great. I want everyone to have some kind of experience in the evening. Of course, it's always optional. You must want to opt into that. And as I say to everyone, I'll be here all night, sitting here in the lounge. You want to come chat with me? And often they do because there's something they want to share. And I'm here to listen, really. Something will always come up, right? Especially if it's a first experience, you may be very excited. But I've also witnessed women, sort of remember things that they weren't, so comfortable about. It can bring up a lot of different kinds of feelings. And I think it's beautiful to have that option just to talk it through. Someone who's happy to listen. Yeah, so it was a sexy evening, and I always find it very sort of shifting, very life-changing for women. It's, skirt club's really not about sex as much as, the press love to talk about our lesbian sex parties for straight women, as they are described. The reality is it's a community that's really holding each other's hand through a very shifting experience. That sure is evoking sexual energy, which is a beautiful energy to have, but also ridding ourselves of some shame that we carry around, feeling sexual or desiring. I find all women carry some element of shame around that. And the sooner they are free from it, the sooner they can be themselves and get on with really living their lives.
So beautiful. I love that. Yeah, I love that image of you sort of just being the mama sitting on the couch, ready for anyone to come and have a little debrief or a little chat or unpack something, or maybe, confide in you. And also that you had some hosts that are, I presume, playing a similar role, just making sure everyone's okay and has someone to chat to if they want to. And that was really nice to see, because it obviously, it's delicate. We need to hold this with care, especially when it's a first time or, something that someone's exploring newly, and can be very vulnerable and can bring stuff up. And aside from the sort of sexual or erotic energy, I was sort of like thinking, gosh, just socially even, it could be a challenging environment, because a lot of these people are coming not knowing anybody, which actually works beautifully because everyone's in the same boat. But I was sort of wondering, like, what does end up happening at events where people are sort of coupling up or forming little groups, and there's somebody that doesn't have anyone to either play with or just talk to, and they feel a bit socially awkward or unsure how to engage or how to proceed. Is that the role of the host or you, if you're there, to kind of notice that and keep them company or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we have a team. We typically have at least 3 to 5 hostesses, depending on the size of the party. Their job is purely to be social lubricant and to keep that, everybody engaged, introduced to one another, start a conversation or keep one going. Because the last thing, and this is their MO, and I've made it very clear to all of them, if you see someone sitting alone, you go straight to them and sit and talk with them. And as soon as you can, introduce them to somebody, because you can freeze very quickly. We're asking you to do things that, your mother told you never to try, which is go to a stranger's home by yourself and do something you've never done before with strangers. This is danger for any parent talking to a child, and especially a girl. We're told often, don't dress like that, you'll get raped. Well, okay, so we're just going to live our lives in fear? This doesn't make any sense. We should be able to dress how we like and not have to be fearful of rape. So as women, it's just so much to break down very quickly. So it's a shock to the system. And the more people we have on the team who are there purely to ease that experience for you, the better, because that's, a friend. And she's been where you are. That's how we choose our hostesses. They've been to a couple of parties. They know how nervous it is. And they want to give back. They really just want to help. And they're all volunteers,
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. That's so, it feels so safe, and it feels really, and I guess that's the vibe that I was picking up on, being so warm and welcoming and encouraging and supportive. Because it's very brave for people to put themselves out there like this. And, for me, being quite an introvert, like, even if there was no sex involved, that's still a really challenging social dynamic to go and mingle and make small talk and chat with strangers, and then if you add the layers of like, oh, is there attraction? Is there, is something going to happen? Oh, what if somebody else is also interested in that person? And, there's so much going on packed into this like few hours in an evening,
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? What doesn't break you builds you. And if you want a confidence boost, right, this will really take you out of your comfort zone. This was the thing that really got me personally. After I'd hosted 1 or 2 of these events on the weekend in London back then, I found my confidence level like soar through the roof. And so I had a full-time job as working in finance, a very male-dominated environment. And I found myself Monday morning just running meetings like I owned it. Because I knew at the weekend I'd done something they would never. And that made me the brave bitch in the room. And I just suddenly had a very different perspective on, what it means to be the big guy. if they had known just 1 minute of what I had been up to, yeah, I think we'd understand.
100%. And I love that you talk about how this can be healing, it can be empowering, it can, I guess, like, not just give people an opportunity to explore their sexuality and their erotic expression, but like also tap into a personal power that then has a ripple effect in the rest of their lives. And I'd love to just hear you unpack that a bit more, like why, sexual self-knowledge and exploration and confidence is so tightly linked with personal power and might have an effect, that you say bedroom to the boardroom,
Yeah, that's our tagline, confidence bedroom to boardroom. And a lot of people did not understand what I was talking about when I first said this in 2014. They were confused what I was trying to mean by that. But it's quite simply, getting out of your comfort zone, doing something that scares you, and then realizing that nothing really scares you anymore. And another brilliant after effect for me was that I stopped caring what people thought. There was me afraid of my colleagues finding out I was bisexual or bumping into somebody I knew at a party. And then I just realized, well, it doesn't matter, because if they're also there, we're in the same boat. And quite frankly, my sexuality is none of anyone's business. What's more important is that I accept myself. And as soon as I did that, it was like I shed a skin. I've just felt so aligned. I find it very easy to make decisions and move forward in my own life without this hesitation around, but what if, if I wear that outfit or if I say this thing, they will judge me in this way. And you get stuck in your head for hours overthinking about all the scenarios that society might judge you on. Yeah, that's all gone. Right? Imagine the amount of energy you get back once that's been rid from your life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You kind of talked earlier about there being a little bit of resistance towards the label of bisexual or bicurious, especially back when you were starting these parties. And I know you sort of mentioned last night when you were giving a really inspiring and beautiful speech to all of the ladies. It was really moving. I was like, fuck yeah, this bitch has got the right idea. I'm all for this. We got the same brand. You were kind of talking about how, being bisexual, you're not lesbian, you're not gay, you're not straight, and you can kind of get a bit of flack for that. It's like people either think like just fucking pick a side, or there's quite a bit of stigma and maybe even some shame or some, I don't know, some like icky judgment. I think some judgment around this from people in different categories. What are some of the like misconceptions or the judgments that bicurious or bisexual women cop? Hey, baby babes. Sorry to interrupt. I just had to pop my head into the lounge here and mention another virtual lounge that I'd love you to get around. It's the Labia Lounge Facebook group that I've created for listeners of the potty to mingle in. There you'll find extra bits and bobs like freebies, behind the scenes, or discounts for offerings from guests who have been interviewed on the podcast. There'll also be, hopefully, inspiring, thought-provoking conversations and support from a community of labial legends like yourself. My vision for this is that it becomes a really supportive, educational, and hilarious resource for you to have more access to me and a safe space to ask questions you can't ask anywhere else. So head over to the links in the show notes or look up the Labia Lounge group in Facebook, and I'll see you in there. And now, back to the episode.
Oh, my favorite is they assume that you're extremely promiscuous because if you like two genders, you must be having twice the amount of sex. No, that is not the mathematical equation. That is a complete made up story. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have more options, definitely, but I'm not having twice as much sex as everybody else. Yeah, there's that one. And the other judgment, I mean, a lot of judgment came from the LGBTQ community, actually, which got me. There's a lot of like, you're just on your way to be gay, or you're, I was at this pub quiz and some lesbians called me a sex toy. And I thought, wow, that's how you see us, just as little things to play with, just for their delight, not serious. Yeah, it surprised me. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, that also surprised me, hearing that from friends that are, moving in those circles, bicurious, bisexual, moving in the sort of LGBTQIA plus community, where you would kind of think or hope that, given that everyone's pretty discriminated against and is in the minority, you would kind of be wanting to raise each other up, and it's, but there was like these sort of factions and these judgments that one group would put on another, and it made me really sad, because I just thought, fuck, like, you're already up against it being in the minority and there being a lot of stigma around, any kind of queerness. So why is there all this infighting and this judgment and these attacks? It's like, it just seems a bit crazy to me.
Yeah,
and someone did a
for sure.
really good job of explaining. It's almost like, when you've got an abusive or narcissistic parent and they sort of pit you and your siblings against one another, and, the patriarchy and this heteronormative sort of soup that we're swimming in is kind of doing that with the queer community and with all the minorities, so that we're so distracted with fighting each other and judging each other, and because that's the example that's been set, for us. And it's just really sad, because obviously then we're more divided and less powerful when we're sort of judging one another instead of the systems in place that have fucking oppressed everyone,
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're all trying to break free in our own way somehow.
Yeah. What's a really common thing that a woman says when she first attends a skirt club event? What are the things that you hear quite a bit?
Definitely the first comment is, "Oh my God, everyone's so nice." Like, they're surprised.
Yeah. Oh, they're surprised. Yeah. Okay.
Because they also have rarely been in a room of just women, especially when they're all dressed up and wanting to impress each other. So, everyone's really lovely to each other, very complimenting. And I think women aren't used to that for women. So that's the first surprise. Though there's always one or two, like, I'm straight. I've just come to, see what it's all about. And then they're surprised how much they enjoy it. And typically she's the first one in the bedroom too, which always makes me giggle. I'm just coming to watch. Okay, darling, whatever you want. And then I catch her, naked in the other room, and I'm thinking,
Really?
And they're always surprised, because kissing women is really lovely. It's soft. It's like women know how to kiss as well. There's no sloppiness there. They know how to use their mouths, and you can just do that all night and be full with love energy after that. It's so beautiful. And they're so soft, and, breasts are beautiful too. And women's bodies are just way more attractive than men. And they're not, women are not aggressive to one another. There's no pushing. It's probably the opposite. It's like, oh, may I touch you? Or does that feel okay? And there's a lot of checking in. There's a lot of, I don't want to overstep the boundaries. And, it's a jostle for, women having to make the first move, which they don't do very often. It's normally him making a move on her. So she's got to really come out of her comfort zone now and be the one that asks, may I kiss you?
Initiate.
Yeah. And,
which I guess is where the spin the bottle game comes in. That just breaks the ice a little bit for people.
Yeah, because waiting for them to ask is going to take all night. I mean, at least I know that it's going to be one of us, so it may as well be me. So I'm always the first one that's going to initiate, because I just know it won't happen otherwise. But when you've got two like novices in the room, then they'll just get into the friend zone too quickly. So I have to find a way to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, so interesting. So I don't know who it was that sort of shot me a free ticket and invited me, and how much they follow my work or know of me, but I'm pretty fucking straight. Very sex positive, very open-minded, big lover of women, professional vagina massager. That's my jam. But I'm really straight. I've kissed 2 women in my whole fucking life. and it was so soft and lovely. But something, and I would say, curious and open-minded. I've just never really been in a situation where all the stars have aligned and it sort of just flowed organically. And I haven't actively sought out sexual experiences with women. The motivation hasn't really been there quite enough. I don't find myself attracted to women very often, but I can be. And I know it's just so fluid and it changes throughout your life. But something that I've come up against when I've been thinking, oh, it would be really cool to have an opportunity where I was feeling it and I could explore that. But I know that in the queer community, there can be this, and I don't know if there's like a term for it or a phrase for it, but there can be a bit of like shame and judgment from full-time queer people or lesbians if you're just having a bit of an exotic experience, you just want to dip your toe in, but you're going to go back to your safe little heteronormative world. And we can tend to exotify and, eroticize those experiences like it's just this little, like a sex tourist almost in the queer space. And I've been really hyper aware and conscious of not doing that and not making anyone feel like I'm using them for a bit of a fun experience because I feel curious now, but that I have no intention of actually dating a woman or going down that path very far. I just kind of want to dip my toe in, right? So I'm like, cool, well, I'd rather not make anyone feel shit like I'm using them for a sexual experience. But I think your events are so perfect for that. And I'm kind of spewing because I was genuinely just so tired and hungry and off everything by the time we got to the hotel room. I was like, I'm too tired. I think it's not going to be tonight for me. But it would have been the perfect environment. People were so lovely and it's just safe, And yeah, I sort of feel like it was a little bit of a missed opportunity, but by that point I literally was no good to anyone and I needed to be alone and be in bed.
Well, there'll
And
be
eat
more
some
parties
snacks.
for her, don't worry.
Yeah, I'll have to come. And I think like mentally, energetically, emotionally, I'd budgeted for a 2-hour cocktails thing and then to go home. I wasn't like mentally prepared necessarily to kind of carry on. I literally didn't even wear deodorant. I stank by the time I got to the hotel room. I wasn't feeling hot. So I was like, okay, this is fine. Next time I'll be a little bit more prepared to have that as an option. But what I was sort of trying to say is that it feels like there's permission to explore and to be nervous and to be brand new, and you're not going to be judged. You're not going to be shamed for trying to have a little voyeuristic experience or, be a little queer tourist for a day. And that is really fucking cool because there's not that many spaces like that.
Yeah. And look, everyone's opting into that experience as well.
Yeah.
I don't know many women that come to Skirt Club looking for a relationship. That's not what we're advertising here. And I'd even say that about 70% of our members are partnered to a man.
I did notice that. Yeah, most of the women I spoke to had a partner or husband at home, and they were just having some fun on the side and exploring. And yeah, how good.
Right, women exploring. How about that? With the man staying at home, babysitting the kids. I'm really happy for this.
Yes, it's about time. Oh my God.
Flip the switch. And I'm hearing more and more often these days that he's the one that's found out about Skirt Club and recommended she go. And that's so different to how it was 10 years ago. She was reading about it in one of the magazines and sometimes keeping it a secret because she didn't know how to tell him. Yeah. And now he's, and it's quite nice that he's empowered first, I think, because it's then, both their decision. And quite honestly, it's opening her up into a place that she feels more comfortable. He's only going to have a better sex life because of it. When she comes home, totally. Due start from all of us, he's in for a good time. So, if he's smart, he knows that this is only going to be a good thing for him.
Yeah, net positive, definitely. And then he gets to hear about it when she comes home and they can use that to feed into their own erotic explorations, Yeah, I thought that was really cool, hearing different people's sort of relationship status and how this sort of lifestyle, fitted in with that. It was really fucking cool. I'd love to do the segment Get Pregnant and Die. And this is where I ask my guests to tell me a sex ed story. Maybe it's something from school. Maybe it was outside of school. Maybe it's how sex ed failed you. Maybe it did a really good job of something. But does anything spring to mind?
Don't have sex, because you will get pregnant and die. Don't have sex in the missionary position. Don't have sex standing up. Just don't do it. Promise?
I didn't have any sex ed, so I mean, it's part of the reason that I'm so into this is because I don't want women to find out about sex the way I did, which was by shock and accident. By 14, 15 years old, I should have known about sex, and I did not. I read about it in a book called Forever by Judy Blume, if you're American.
Oh, no, I haven't read that one.
And it's just a lovely story about a couple who have sex for the first time and how they prepare for it, talk about it, get ready for it, and I'm like, what's this? And we'd done like biology in school. It just didn't really go there. Or maybe they talked about pregnancy, but no one ever said the word sex. Well, good old England, we're not going to be that transparent about the things that are most important. Yeah. So I felt that there could have been a better job on that front, and also I also felt like I would have liked to have known a bit more about having a period, before it happened. There's a lot of things that happened. 30? How old am I now? This is like 30 years ago. That would never happen today. There's just so much information out there. You're going to know about things way younger, probably too young, and experimenting on stuff that really children should not. So we have the opposite problem now. But I think there's a huge gap for women being delivered safe education on how to enjoy their bodies more during sex.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah. And honestly, like that book sounds, if they're talking about having it for the first time, they're preparing that actually sounds like more like a better sex ed than probably what we got, which was like fear mongering and STI and pregnancy, shaming and oh my God. But yeah, what you're saying about like women learning how to advocate for their own pleasure, to prioritize their own pleasure, to basically give themselves permission is something that I work with people on all the time. So many women struggle to give themselves permission to explore, to prioritize their pleasure, to ask for what they want, to even think that they are allowed to have needs and desires and to go after those. And I know you gave everyone a pretty good pep talk about this last night. What actually helps women cross that like internal line from curiosity to action and giving themselves permission?
Definitely watching other people do it first. And I'm very happy to be the first person because that means I'm going to set the standard and set you free. I'm very happy to put my hand up first and go for it. But women just want permission. And, sadly they should be able to give it to themselves, but no, they want to hear it from someone else. So permission granted, ladies, dive in.
Yeah. It's actually just such a great event to remove the shame and the stigma and the taboo, to get to witness it. That's very liberating. To have opportunities in a safe space to dabble, like it's so great, honestly. Like it's so cool because there's often, people often explore or experiment with their sexuality in unsafe environments, or they use a lot of alcohol or drugs or other things to kind of like remove the inhibitions, but not actually remove the shame and give themselves permission. They're relying on other things to give that permission or sort of bypass the shame for, one night only. And I think people can have kind of damaging or traumatic or, just not very empowering sexual experiences when they're kind of trying to find them out in the world in an organic way. And it's definitely better these days, but the fact that like a lot of my guy friends who are gay that talk about like going to beats and, you know, this need, there was a necessity for an outlet and somewhere to explore this that was, you know, away from the eyes of the public and where there wasn't going to be, you know, the judgment or shame, but didn't necessarily mean that they were very safe or very empowering experiences all the time. Some people, you know, just get as fucked up as possible so that they can then, you know, be uninhibited and have an excuse to have, you know, explored queerness. And so it's cool that there's this like scaffolded, curated, safe environment. And on that, I'm wondering, like, for your membership tiers, is there like a vetting process? What is the onboarding kind of process for people that want to be part of Skirt Club and get invitations to attend these parties? Excuse this quick interruption. I'm shamelessly seeking reviews and 5-star ratings for the potty because, as I'm sure you've noticed by now, it's pretty fab. And the more people who get to hear it, the more people I can help with it. Reviews and ratings actually do make a big difference to this little independent podcaster. And it's really easy to just quickly show your support by taking that simple act of either leaving 5 stars for the show on Spotify or, even better, writing a written review and leaving 5 stars over on Apple Podcasts. Or if you're a real overachiever, you can do them both. That would be mad. If you're writing a review, though, just be sure to use G-rated words because despite the fact that this is a podcast about sexuality, words like sex can be censored and your review won't make it through the gates. Lame. Anyway, I would personally recommend doing that right now while you're a member just to get on top of it and let me know you're with me on this journey. Thanks, gang. Enjoy the rest of the epi.
Yeah, well, there is a sign-up form that requires some basic information about you and 2 photos, and with that we will approve you based on you being female first and vulva owning, and then once you're approved, anyone can buy a ticket to an event once they're in the community.
How often would you turn down applicants, and like for what kinds of reasons, other than if they're obviously not a vulva owner?
That's pretty much it, to be honest. I mean,
Okay.
and it's not that we turn down; we just don't approve, and it is usually because they are men or they're of masculine energy. So it's honestly, we are approving the high majority of applicants that come through. Our website is very clear that this is for women. Doesn't mean that men don't read it. We still get those applications, and it very clearly says in the front there for femme women. So that's how we keep the community to its true core.
Yeah. Do you find it's a certain demographic or age group? Like, is it bicurious women that are exploring a bit later in life? Like, what's the kind of demographic, if there is one?
Yeah, and it's changed over the years. This is not the same today as it was when we started out. It was very much late 20s, young 30s when we started out. Women who had, enough financial independence to buy her own ticket was pretty much what it boiled down to, and enough freedom to do this. Now, I'm finding a lot of over 45 years old, and 55 actually. Typically, what's triggering that is a divorce. Kids have left home. She's just woken up and realized she's been married to the same man since she was 22 years old, and she'd like to try something different. And he's been very encouraging of it. And she's never even considered herself before. She's put everyone else first, typically the children, the husband, her sister, her friends, all the things. And it's just, COVID did a lot, actually. A lot of women went, oh my God, life is short. Let's give this a go whilst we still want to. But what I really don't like hearing is, well, I heard about Skirt Club 8 years ago, but the timing wasn't right. There is no good timing, my love. You should just jump on this now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's there's big barriers for people. I have a similar type of experience sometimes where I'll have a client book in. I do a thing called yoni mapping therapy. So it's a combination of sex coaching, talk therapy, and a full body massage, and then external vulva massage and internal vaginal massage.
Yeah, I've actually had that treatment before. It's pretty great. Yeah.
So obviously for a lot of people, that's a big deal. And to have a stranger entering your body, you know, to come and have a session like that, to be naked, to be touched on the genitals, it's, you know, it's a big barrier, and people can have a lot of fear around it, a lot of shame, a lot of self-consciousness, a lot of apprehension about what might actually come up for them in a session. And sometimes I'll have people say that they have followed my work for like 6 years or something, and they've only now got the courage to send an email, or that it's only felt like the right time now, and have a similar, and I get that, you know, obviously until you're ready and you know, feel courageous and empowered enough to take that step and book it in, you know, I would never want anyone to do it prematurely. But, you know, as soon as they arrive, I'm like, honestly, the hardest bit is over. Booking in and getting yourself here, that's the hardest bit. The lead up, the nerves, that's the scariest bit. It's going to be so chill. Like, it's not going to be what you expect. And everyone always, you know, says, oh my gosh, that was like nowhere near as scary or awkward as I thought it would be. Like, that was it felt so normal and natural, and wow, you know, like I felt so comfortable and safe. And I'm like, yes, I know, I am good at this. But it's a really nerve-wracking thing for people to come and have a session. And I imagine that it could be a very similar deal with attending your events. Which is why it was so awesome and heartening to see the vibe that you created and the safety and the sort of atmosphere, like, was the perfect atmosphere for a nervous person that had come and was a little bit apprehensive and feeling a bit awkward or unsure. Perfect. And it was really cute just hearing all those little conversations and seeing people getting more and more comfortable as the night went on. And yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah. You know what's lovely is that it doesn't matter where in the world we are, it's always the same. And look, we host this event in 36 cities. It's very global. I live in the US, I live in Miami, and so I'm typically hosting the US events there, and then of course London when I'm home. But coming over to Australia, you know, it's the same format, it's the same interactions, and the stories are varying a little bit, but on the whole, like, I've usually heard that story before. And women are just the same all over the world, no matter the culture or the language they speak. We are one. And so having this global network where you can share your stories with each other, it just makes complete sense that it's across borders. We are very similar, with similar needs and similar problems to solve.
Totally. Is there something that women do naturally that makes these same-sex spaces feel different from mixed gender erotic spaces that you've noticed, or that women are just really good at, or you tend to see?
Yeah, the sensuality. They're just all about the touch and, you know, some soft words, but the kissing and the stroking and the holding, and that they are so gentle with each other. It's very nourishing. And of course, with men, it's usually quite the opposite. It's aggressive. It's about often his penis and his ability to get hard and his ejaculation. So it couldn't be more opposite, actually. And I think women, even if you're married to a man and you're very happy in that relationship, like, you crave the sensuality still. It's not something men do naturally. So I'm wondering why we don't all have, both a male and a female partner in our lives. It seems like that's what we all eventually want. Like, so why would we not have all our needs met? Why would we expect one person to provide all of that and feel unhappy for most of our lives?
I know. We've really been stitched up with the conditioning that we've received, haven't we? Yeah. And do you think that's a big part of why more and more women seem to be sort of openly exploring bisexuality or sexual fluidity, like, these days?
Yeah, I don't think there's nothing new about bisexuality. It's just We're being reawoken from a dark time where we were told women don't have sexual desires. Wrong. We have just as many as men, perhaps more. We're the ones who get bored in a relationship first, not men. Plenty of statistics around that. We're more likely to cheat. Then when we cheat, it's emotional. It's not sexual, right? Which is unfortunately more catastrophic, more likely to leave on that basis. So, if there's something missing in a relationship, bring in a female lover. She's more likely to get it and help you find a way to meet that need. And you'll just be satisfied, more whole, more happy in the relationships that you do have, because all needs are met. And I just think that's a safer way for everybody to stay connected, and especially in families where children are involved. Nobody should be separating. There are plenty ways to fix needs that aren't met.
What surprised you the most about how women behave when they're given a space that is free from the male gaze?
They're so relaxed, right? And of course, more likely to orgasm in a safe situation. But yeah, that's why I'm just listening to the pleasure zone. Like, what, as you can imagine, right? I've done over 600 play parties now that I've hosted, and so I've seen a lot of women enjoy pleasure, and I've probably witnessed more orgasms than any man will. But they are just relaxed. Like, no one's going to hurt them because no men are there. And no masculine energy either. Women can have masculine energy too. And so that's what we screen for also, because it's really hard to relax in an environment otherwise. And if you think about how energy works, a masculine structure is always required for the chaos in which to flow. Women are mostly that feminine chaos flowing, but it has to flow, it has to move. It needs to know where the boundaries are so it can safely do that. And so I like to think of myself and Skirt Club as that structure. And then giving women that safe space to go for it and go wild. And they do. They absolutely let go. I mean, they're surprised at themselves quite often. I also love comments like, women say, "Oh, again, I love to dress up. I love to dress like a slut." And if no men were in the room, I'd just dress even more slutty, because I can. Yeah, the dress up is like a big deal, by the way, for our events. That's why we do themes. Like, everyone's supposed to get into costume and also play an alter ego, some other part of themselves that they want to be. A lot of them don't use their real names; they're using pseudonyms. It kind of adds to the spice of getting out of your head and into your body and being someone else for a night, and no one knowing you, right? No one's gonna tell your friends or your kids because they don't know your name, who you are, where you came from. Just that tonight you're, I don't know, Scarlet Darling, and you're here to enjoy for 3 hours.
Awesome. Love it. So, big question, but what do you think women are looking for?
Connection. Yeah. And they don't always get it from their male partners because they are disconnected themselves. So they seek it from women because women, we're good at doing that. We talk, we share, we listen, we connect. Yeah. And I just love the concept of a BBF, a bi bestie, who's on your wavelength. She gets it. There's no questions around your sexuality. You go shopping, you go cocktailing, you go partying, you make out sometimes. It's just the next level of friend.
I got to get me a BBF. What am I doing?
Well, no place where you can find one.
And obviously, like, connection is so foundational, so fundamental for, like, women to feel sexually connected and attracted. Obviously, your erotic blueprint comes into this, and some people do, describe enjoying a kind of non-connected, just purely sexual experience. Definitely I need, like, emotional connection and actual intimacy to feel turned on and to feel that rapport and that trust and that safety. How do you see women connecting? I know you sort of already spoke a bit about, like, touch and soft words. How do women generally approach this and connect and flirt and because also just personally, it's not a space I've experienced much. I haven't really, I haven't slept with a woman. I haven't flirted with a woman. It's a new territory.
It happens very naturally, I can give you some, I guess, steps to take, but I do find that, look, we know how to flirt, okay? We know how to do that. We're always flirting with men. But we're used to him making the first move. That's the only difference here. But otherwise, women dressing for women is a whole game. We're going to put a lot more effort into that because she's going to notice all the little detail, the makeup, the hair, how it matches your jewelry, the outfit, paired with your stilettos. Like everything is noticed and complimented on. So you're going to up your game a little bit there as well. And I think that just eyes tell you a lot. You don't need words so much. Catch somebody's eye frequently, then you should just assume she's interested because she's also here at Skirt Club with you for the same reason. So, yeah, she's trying to catch your eye and connect with you.
Hey, me again. If you'd like to support the potty and you've already given it 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening on, I want to mention that you can buy some really dope merch from the website and get yourself a Labia Lounge tote, tee, togs. Yep, you heard that right. I even have Labia Lounge bathers. Or a cute fanny pack if that'd blow your hair back. So if fashion isn't your passion, though, you can donate to my Buy Me a Coffee donation page, which is actually called Buy Me a Soy Chai Latte, because I'll be the first to admit I'm a bit of a Melbourne cafe tosser like that. And yes, that is my coffee order. You can do a once-off donation or an ongoing membership and sponsor me for as little as 3 fat ones a month. And I also offer one-on-one coaching and online courses that'll help you level up your sex life and relationship with yourself and others in a really big way. So every bit helps because it ain't cheap to put out a sweet podcast into the world every week out of my own pocket. So I will be undyingly grateful if you support me and my biz financially in any of these ways. And if you like, I'll even give you a mental BJ with my mind from the lounge itself. Saucy. And I'll pop the links in the show notes. Thank you. Later. Let's do this segment TMI. We love it. Do you have a TMI story that springs to mind? I know you've probably got thousands. Is there anything that you feel like sharing with us today?
TMI, we love it. Said TMI, we love it.
Oh my God. I mean, how gory do you want to get?
Oh, go hard. Go hard or go home, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the one thing the clean up in the morning is always a little bit like, oh my God. Like, the party happens at night and we keep it very low lit. So, there's a lot of action going on, and then in the morning time it's clean up. And, typically it's not that messy for women, generally speaking. It'd be worse if it was men, right? You'd have some serious bleaching to do. But with women, we put out splash blankets, etc., and that usually captures any kind of fluids. But there's been occasions where I've woken up and there's a complete bloodbath on the bed, and it's not going to come out the sheets, so I'm just going to have to burn them effectively. That's someone got their period and didn't realize. Or realized and didn't think to do anything about it. That also kind of surprises me. I had a situation, actually, it was here in Melbourne, now probably 5 or 6 years ago, but there was a group of women who thought it would be very funny to create a circle, a squirt circle. And so sitting on the bed, they sat in a circle and all squirted into the center. They obviously knew how to do that for themselves, and were pretty good at it. Anyway, I got the bill the next day from the owner, who had to replace his mattress because that thing was not going to dry out. It was sodden.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Not even a splash blanket.
Oh, no, that's why we have them now. Yeah. But quite frankly, that wouldn't have survived this. I mean, it was a downpour, so yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm sure they're still telling that story to this day because that's a banger. Squirt circle. It's like Fight Club. The rules of squirt circle.
It makes me laugh when, like, venue owners, I explain to them it's a play party, it's women only, and they're like, oh, what's the worst that could go wrong? It's like, just girls. I'm like, well,
Let them think that. Let them think that. That
yeah.
serves us. So yeah, speaking of like sexual acts, what I know that there was maybe I heard, I can't remember who was telling me that you sort of provide dental dams and a few bits and pieces.
Yeah, some latex
What are some of the
gloves, some
things?
condoms, some lube.
Yeah, cool. For those that are actually probably don't even need to ask this question. I know it was on the on your form when you booked in. I always ask guests, are there any particular questions or anything you want to talk about? One of the things was, what is sex for women? I kind of like to think / hope that my listener base, isn't at the stage where they're like, oh, how do women even have sex? Is it scissoring? But like, if you want to go into what sex is for women and what sort of things people explore at your events, then maybe that's how we sort of wrap up this episode.
Sure. I mean, because woman to woman, there are many ways in which to have sex, and there are many ways in which it is, categorized as sex. And that also is subjective. So, I could write a guide on what I think sex is between two women. And I bet somebody, especially lesbian women, would counteract that with no kissing or, touching is already counting as sex. For me, it would be oral sex. Yeah, scissoring too. Yeah, we do that. Yes, it's true. But also using strap-ons, As Scott Club, we don't do too much of that. We don't usually use phallic instruments too much because it's kind of like defeats the point. They typically have a male partner at home for that reason. So why don't we do the thing that you don't have? But a lot of it, yeah, I see a lot of oral sex going on at Scott Club more than anything else. And that's why the dental dams are quite important, because it acts as a protective barrier between your lips and hers for any kind of HPV concerns. But of course, on the flip side, most women have had HPV at this point, right? So it's I think it's like 90% in America will test positive on that if you ask them to or take a test. And they're just carrying it. They're probably not even showing. It's only contagious when it's showing. So, there's that to consider. Yeah. Oh, and of course, fingering. But 2 or 3 fingers always feels good. I think that's great sex. I think it's one of my favorites, actually, because, and you know about this with mapping. You'll find the spot. And then when you found the spot, you can just go in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually wondering if people like brought along their own toys and things, and thinking that it would be pretty interesting if people whipped out some dildos or strap-ons. Not that there'd be anything wrong with that, but I was like, I had a sort of inkling that maybe that wasn't the vibe, given the sort of femme nature and the name of it and everything like that. But do people sort of bring any sort of their own like bag of tricks or anything like that very often?
Yeah, they do sometimes. Usually in the cities that are more confident, like San Francisco, very confident city, sexually. And LA, I'll see a lot of that there. And Berlin. I mean, they don't really hold back there at all. And that's fine. We're just very clear, keep them clean. That we put out the toy cleaner as well and ask them to wash them in between uses. And if you're using like a dildo or something to put a condom on it, here are the condoms. You have no excuse. For us, it's really about the hygiene of how those toys are used. So, we say that in our welcome speech, just so it's made clear that this is expected. If you did bring toys, this is expected of you.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Great. Right. Well, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would love to speak about or let the listeners in on? Any little gaps? Maybe something I haven't asked you, or just a bit of a word of wisdom to leave people with?
Well, firstly, I love the Labia Lounge as a concept. I feel like we are the real life version of that in practice. I've seen so much vulva at this point. It's really truly in my face, and as somebody who just spends every Saturday night pretty watching women have sex with one another, it feels very normal to me now, to the point where we could both be sitting here naked right now and I might not notice. So I will warn you about going too far down this path. It will saturate you, and your level of normal will completely change.
It
So that
already
is,
has. Like,
yeah.
I massage vaginas and I set up the Labia Lounge at sex parties, and I've seen it all. But I get what you mean.
Yeah, it's all novelty to begin with, but of course, eventually you get used to everything. I would also say that, Skirt Club has been my passion project, and I turned it into a thriving community and a business, which is a pretty rare thing to do in this industry. There have been a lot of obstacles, especially for women-only sex-positive outlets that are still not welcomed by men. For example, I'm on my 5th bank account because banks did not like me hosting these parties. There's nothing illegal about it, but somehow that goes against their policy. That surprised me, honestly, and I still continued to have obstacles that just any other normal business would not. Having said that, there's clearly a huge demand for this, and for that reason, we're not going away. As long as women need safe spaces, Skirt Club will provide them. And even though we can't advertise or market our product because it's sexual or it's adult or it's just not welcome, we do rely on word of mouth and our members recommending us, and shows like yours talking about it, so that women are aware that there are places they can come where they are accepted and that they can discover themselves without judgment. And I think that's a really important part of growing up, becoming an adult and getting to know your body in a safe way. Skirt Club is now in 36 cities and we have 26,000 members globally. And it's one of the most sexy networks that live on this planet. And it's an absolute delight to run this and be the founder of something so special.
I love that. Yeah. And I'm so glad you just persevered and it's all sort of flowed, with the obstacles, but flowed beautifully for you. I'm in a similar boat with, trying to run a business in the realms that I do, and censorship and shadow banning and stigma. It's sometimes just pushing shit uphill. But I'm so glad there are people like us doing it, that are passionate and committed enough. Because, it's not for the faint-hearted, running a business in general, let alone in such a fringe and niche and taboo realm. And that has been a very big challenge for me. So I totally feel you on that. But I'm always going to be spruiking your stuff, recommending it to clients. I'll, pop all of the links to Skirt Club and their events in the show notes of this and in the Facebook group. And it's just been awesome chatting with you today, Genevieve.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Kudos to us, hey? Stamina. We will prevail.
And that's it, darling hearts. Thanks for stopping by the Labia Lounge. Your bum groove in the couch will be right where you left it, just waiting for you to sink back in for some more double L action next time. If you'd be a dear and subscribe, share this episode, or leave a review on iTunes, then you can pat yourself on the snatch, because that's a downright act of sex-positive feminist activism, and you'd be supporting my vision to educate, empower, demystify, and destigmatize with this here podcast. I'm also always open to feedback, topic ideas that you'd love to hear covered, questions or guest suggestions, so feel free to get in touch via my website or over on Insta. You can also send me in TMI stories to be shared anonymously on the pod. My handle is FreyaGraf_the Labia Lounge, if my account hasn't been deleted for being too sex positive, which, is always a possibility with censorship. But just in case the chronic censorship finally does obliterate my social channels, I'd highly recommend going and joining my mailing list and snagging yourself some fun freebies for the trouble at www.freyagraf.com/freebies. Anyway, later, labial legends. See you next time.